Yeah. All right, will the plan for Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023, please come to order. This evening's meeting will be a person at the Green Community Center, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, Mononkatuk floor, as well as virtually by Zoom. During this meeting, our procedures will be as follows. 1, when you first enter the Zoom meeting, you will be in a virtual waiting room until the meeting host. 2, please be aware that your camera, if you have one, and your microphone will be muted by the host when you enter the meeting. You can turn on your camera at any time so that you can be seen by others when and if you choose to. In order to run an efficient and orderly meeting in this virtual environment, unless stated otherwise by the meeting chairman during the meeting host will keep everyone other than the commission members muted. You will still be able to hear everything said by the commission members, even if you're muted and or your camera's not on. There will be opportunity for public comment during public hearing, at which time public participants will be unmuted. 3, the secretary will read the call of the meeting as published according to Governor Lamont's executive order. 4, during the public hearing, it will be invited to present the application, explain to the commission and others present what is being requested. The meeting host will share all related documents on the screen as needed. In addition, all applications and supporting materials for each application on the agenda are available through the public meeting page of the town website, www.guilfordct.gov, and also through the direct link on the planning and zoning page. 5, comments of town agencies will be read for each application if there are any. There will be clarifying questions from the commissioners. 6, there will then be an opportunity for clarifying questions from the audience. Please raise your hand through the Zoom platform and called on and unmuted. As this public hearing must be recorded, it is necessary to identify themselves each time they speak by stating their name and address. 7, after all clarifying questions are exhausted, those who wish to speak in support of the application will be asked to come forward, state name and address for the record, and make a statement. Then those who wish to speak in opposition to the will be asked to go forward, state your name and address for the record, and make a statement. 8, the applicant will then have an opportunity to address any questions or concerns raised by the public or commissioner. 9, once the public hearing is closed, the applicant is free to leave or remain for the public hearings and the regular meeting, during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as the decision of this commission and has the right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. 10, decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling Planning and Zoning Department at 203-453-8039 or emailing planning.zoning@guilfordct.gov after 9 a.m. 11, all actions taken on applications tonight by the commission will be by a roll call. All commission staff will identify themselves for the record before speaking. Seated this evening are the following members who will please identify themselves. Kevin Clark.
Present.
Bill Freeman.
Present.
Ted Sands.
Present.
Philip Johnson.
Present.
John Cosgrove.
Present.
Sasha, there he is. Frank DeAndrea. Do we have Frank?
I don't see Frank. Just you and Larry left.
And I'm Scott Edmonds. Alternates today, commissions today. So like no,
Sorry, Scott, you're breaking up a bit.
and Larry Zoll.
Here.
Say that
Present.
again, Jamie.
You were breaking up a bit is all.
That's why I tried to restart my computer. All right, so Frank not being here, then Larry Zola, you'll be seated tonight. Staff present are Jamie Stein, Town Planner,
Good evening.
and Janique Morgan, Administrative Assistant, Planning and Zoning. This meeting will be recorded via the Zone platform and available on the town website for viewing. The secretary will now read the legal notice.
Scott, I think Nigel's here as well.
I am here as well. Good evening.
Nope.
Jamie,
May not
Jamie,
Jones, Assistant Town Planner.
I don't think I got the legal notice. Can you put it up, Jamie?
This was legally noticed originally for April 5th. It has been continued since then, so there is no new legal notice to read into the record.
I can save my voice. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to open the public
So moved.
hearing.
moved.
second,
Second.
Bill, Lozolo,
yes.
Kevin Clark,
Yep, yes.
Ted Sands,
Yes.
Bill Freeman,
Yes.
Philip Johnson,
Yes.
Sean Cosgrove,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. First item on the hearings, Anna Maria Vishu Knapp, Leeds Island Road, Mountain Lot 13, Zone R6, special permit and coastal site plan application for an open space subdivision, dividing the parcel into 3 lots. This is continued for April 5th, 2023 meeting.
Oh, Chuck Mandel here, agent for the,
We have here to
Yeah.
represent.
yeah, I'm here to represent the owner, the Naps. Jamie, just before we start, just a bit of housekeeping, just a clarification. So last month, we had granted, due to the religious holiday, we delayed it for 1 month, yet we were received. Do we lose a month of presentation for that? I'm just curious.
No, thank you, Chuck. It's a good question. The application was received in the April 5th. The application was received and then opened. The public hearing was opened on April 5th and we tabled it. So we have 35 days to close the public hearing, or the applicant could grant the commission an extension of up to 65 days. So we are at day, by my record, with the meeting being opened, the public hearing being opened on the 5th, today is day 28 of the 35 days.
So Jamie, this is Sean. You're saying that the applicant grants the commission extra time?
I've seen it work both ways. You can have an extension of up to 65 days, and sometimes the commission asks, and sometimes the applicant asks, and the granting can come from both sides.
Yeah, Chuck Mandel, not to belabor the point, but technically we lost a month then. Because if we can grant 2 extensions, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to get that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for that
Grant an
point.
extension.
Okay, not a problem. Good evening. The subject property, I believe everyone's well aware of, is just west of the, they call it the crabbing area. It's on the north side of Leeds Island Road. It's approximately a little over 10 acres of land. We're proposing an open space subdivision that would consist of 3 lots in the upland area, obviously. They're all outside. Is someone else speaking?
There we go. I had to mute it. Sorry, Chuck.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, so the all the subject properties would be outside the flood zones. We did do soil testing with the health department. They technically meet the definition of a building lot, if that was so granted by planning and zoning, due to the fact that we do have septic. There were concerns about the wells. So on the plans, we do show a reverse osmosis calculations. That's not uncommon in certain areas with brackish water. So the potable water would be available. And based on the, well, one of the reasons for the open space subdivision, it was for lots such as this. It does protect natural resources. It's in keeping with the dictates of the low impact development. And in addition, and Mr. Chairman, I'm curious, there's so many people who would like to speak. Would it be possible for us to hear comments from the public? Most of the people are familiar with the plan. It's really not that complicated in regards to the lots themselves, their driveways, their issues with being on Route 146. And I understand that, but I'd really like to hear comments from the public because I'm sure I'll be taking notes, and I would imagine this public hearing will not get closed tonight. So that's a question to you, Mr. Chairman.
I would recommend that first we, at the very least, read into the comments of town staff.
Okay,
At the
Scott, I might also suggest that we kind of do
very
a
least.
brief overview.
If it's the end of your presentation and you want to move on to, yeah. If you want to bring plan quickly.
Scott, I think you asked that we bring up the plan. I'm happy to do that. The audience is in the room is seeing this, but let me just share it with Chuck. If you want, I'll share the plan.
So Jamie, I think if you brought up sheet C4, that would be the most, shows the most information. That's a brief overview. That's the cover sheet.
You're talking the potential site development and grading plan for.
Yeah, correct. That's sheet 4, C4. Yeah.
Did I get there?
Yeah, if you can reduce that a little bit, we can see it's actually on. Yeah, we can see lots 2 and 3. Those are the western lots.
Sorry, my computer's working overtime here.
We all are.
I know, right? Apologies, everybody.
Okay.
Chuck, maybe you'll have more luck if you want to share from your screen or,
Yeah, I don't think so.
okay.
Sorry about that. I am.
All right, well, Chuck, I'm going to ask you to try to walk us through some things while I troubleshoot my screen share here.
Yeah, okay. So as I said, these were tested by the health department. We do have a letter from the health department stating that they can be made viable septic systems, and we demonstrated the wells. There is stormwater retention available for that to mitigate any stormwater from potential runoff. So there would be zero runoff from the site. And we are proposing almost about 58% open space on this parcel. And I think if we could read some of the town staff's comments. As I said earlier, I'm really curious to hear from the public. So I can just take some notes and I'll be able to address them as they come in. I just don't think there's really not much else. I mean, it is, the Amtrak is to the north. It's a very narrow lot. It's very long, and there is available area for either a conventional subdivision, which there would not be a public hearing unless the Planning and Zoning Commission deemed it important, which they probably would. But we did demonstrate there was a conventional subdivision also. Okay, perfect, Jamie. That's great. So if you want to start from the western edge, that's the bottom right. If you see to the bottom right corner, that's the crabbing area where people park within the state right-of-way. And we are not planning on touching that. We are also planning on granting an additional easement area for walking or for for public access to a greater portion of that. Otherwise, that is all private property. It is very, you can see the topography. There is quite a bit of ledge in that area. The houses will be pushed back as far back as practical. And we do have a letter from the Land Trust that was dated March 30th from Spencer Meyer that said the land trust was interested in obtaining the 6 acres on there. The land trust currently, you can see that little tooth that's in the center of the property there, that little triangular piece, that's already owned by the land trust. And I believe, yeah, still, yep, okay.
If we're comfortable walking through the plans, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to bring up the staff memos. Or do we want to hear more
Please
from
do.
the? Okay, okay.
Could you at least refer to this accurately? He's talking about the eastern properties. And the one
Yes.
has the largest.
Jamie, can
Thank
you
you.
mute whoever that is?
She's speaking from the audience here, just a point of, yes, thank you, ma'am. A point of clarification, this would be the furthest east and here would be the furthest west. Okay, thank you. Okay, so coming back here, let me just pull up these memos. Okay. We'll begin with this memo from the Health Department. It's not my day today.
This is from.
Do you have it up there?
Cheapers.
Here you go.
Stepping up.
What do you want, Scott?
I'll read it.
That wasn't the question.
Scott's on mute.
Why don't I read it? Planning and Zoning Commission from Sonia Marino, April 1st, 2023, Leeds Island Road, map 19, lot 13, application for an open space subdivision. The proposed subdivision plan on the above referenced property, designed by Thomas Stevenson, P.E., dated 1/18/2023, last revised 3/31/2023, has been given approval by the local health department, LHD. The property has enough naturally occurring soils native to the site for the LHD to approve the 3-lot subdivision. The approval is based upon the information below being demonstrated on the reference site plan. 100% code complying areas, see fill placement. 100% reserved areas of residential single-family homes no longer have to be filled as of 1/1/2023. Low impact development management of stormwater rain gardens. Compliant placement of a private well on each lot. Low flow water treatment wastewater, WTW, disposal systems designed for the backwash of a whole house point of entry reverse osmosis treatment system. Fill placement for primary leaching system. Lots 2 and 3 shall be prepared for the necessary select fill needed for the leaching system installation. The applicant shall follow all fill placement requirements from the technical standards which were last revised on 1/1/2023. The fill shall be installed in a manner to protect the naturally occurring soils as well as to stabilize the soil and protect it against erosion. The fill placement is to ensure at least 48 inches to the ledge, which can be a combination of select fill and a minimum of at least 24 inches of natural occurring soil native to the site. The LHD is requiring a stakeout, scarification, and an inspection to verify the depth of the fill placement. Please note that the LHD approval will have the comments listed on the subdivision approval, as well as any other approvals from the LHD. Low flow water treatment wastewater, WTW, disposal area. The LHD has also required that the PE design a low flow WTW disposal area on each lot. There is a strong possibility that the well water may be high in chlorides and sodium from the possibility of saltwater intrusion. A point of entry whole house reverse osmosis system will be needed for the water to be potable if there is an intrusion. The LHD has required the PE to design a compliant WTW for each lot on each lot for subdivision approval. Is there more?
That's it for that one. Thank you, Ted. I'm going to have Jonique will pull up the memo from our environmental planner, Mr. Kevin McGee.
Great. Can we have Philip Johnson please read this one?
Certainly. From Kevin McGee, environmental planner, Leeds Island Road, Guilford, Connecticut, 06437, assessors map 19, lot 13. The applicant is proposing to divide a 10.3 acres parcel into an open space subdivision with 3 building lots in the coastal area management zone. The coastal resource policies applicable for the property are coastal hazard area, coastal waters, rocky shorefront, intertidal flats, tidal wetlands, and shorelands. The applicant has completed the checklist to guide low impact development best management practices and is utilizing several of the recommended practices. Plans show stormwater from the house lots to infiltrate into rain gardens. No test holes are provided at those locations to show for proper infiltration. The western portion of the property is located in a hatched area on the December 22nd, 2022 natural diversity map for Guilford. A CT-DEEP reply letter should be part of this application, noting what species of concern is and precautions that need to be taken to protect these species. No documents have been submitted regarding the entity that the 5.98 acres of open space is transferred to. If the applicant is looking to transfer the open space to the town of Guilford, they shall provide evidence to the commission that they have consulted with the Board of Selectmen and that the Board of Selectmen has recommended the town accept such land. The applicant shall specify on the plan an alternate disposition of open space acceptable to the commission that shall apply in the event that the acceptance of the land is rejected by the town, meeting, or is otherwise not accepted by the town. If the property is being transferred to a recognized private organization legally constituted to accept and maintain land for conservation and recreational purposes, such as a land trust, a letter from this entity indicating that they would accept the open space should be provided to the commission. Subdivision Regulations Section 272-41B note that the area dedicated to open space shall not consist of a greater percentage of the area classified as wetland, watercourse, 100-year floodplain, or slopes in excess of 25% than the parcel as a whole. Calculations should be placed on the planes indicating that the proposed open space meets this regulation. In accordance with zoning regulations section 272-14.4, open space, parks, and playgrounds should be established in places deemed proper by the commission. The commission may approve an open space subdivision special permit application when the commission finds that there will be a significant community benefit resulting from open space subdivision. As such, finding that the open space preserved will protect important natural resources protect scenic resources, contribute to the overall open space system for neighborhood or town, and will not result in small or fragmented open space parcels that do not provide community benefits. Preserve areas along town or state roads that will protect rural appearance or character, contribute to establishment of an open space corridor or greenway interconnection of existing open spaces, provide for public access to other open space, and provide for potential recreational area. The area being considered for open space is primarily titled wetlands with a small area of uplands. No coastal public access areas associated with the proposed open space area. The property is being subdivided, is located adjacent to a scenic road and adjacent to a popular crab fishing area. The north side of the eastern portion of the property provides views to the scenic Lost Lake. An area of open space should be provided on this eastern portion of the property to provide for coastal public access. Easements for access to and use of land and other necessary restriction of use of land outside of a street right-of-way shall be provided as required or approved by the commission and shall be shown on the record subdivision map with adequate survey information so that the land subject to easement may be accurately located by the field survey. The site plan should also be updated to show all easements on the property. There appears to be two areas of the property which are utilized to access utilities along the Amtrak right-of-way. These areas should be shown on the plans. The proposed site plan notes that the proposed improvements on the development plans are to prove viability of the proposed improvements. Individual municipal coastal site plans should be submitted for the development of each lot.
All right, thank you, Phil.
If you give me a moment, I'll pull up the town engineer's first memo, which was dated March 31st.
Larry Rizzolo, read this one when it comes up, please.
Sure. Okay. To Planning and Zoning Commission from Janice A. Plesiak, Town Engineer, March 31st, 2023, RE Vizio Nap Subdivision, Leeds Island Road. I have reviewed the subdivision application for the above referenced property, and I offer the following comments. The applicant's engineer was provided my comments on February 28, 2023, with a follow-up on March 20th. While most of my original comments were addressed with the latest revision received today, the following remain outstanding. Ledge will need to be disturbed within the state right-of-way to provide adequate sight lines for the driveway for Lot 2, and possibly some ledge removal for the driveway for Lot 3. This is being designated scenic road. The true impacts to the frontages should be known for creating safe access to these new lots. The sightline profiles for the driveways show impacts to ledge, which should also be shown on the plan to understand how much ledge needs to be removed. Next, impacts to the rock ledge along the road for improving sightlines should be referred to Scenic Roads Advisory Committee and CTDOT Scenic Roads Office, since this is a state designated scenic road. Next, also, this area of Route 146 is under design for reconstruction, and the right-of-way for the driveway apron shown for Lot 3 was planned by CTDOT to be utilized to create an access to the water for shell fishermen that currently use the area. The Lot 3 driveway apron is currently utilized for parking by the fishermen. The attached access plan was presented at the public information meeting for the project in 2019. It is my understanding that this roadway plan is likely to change to more of a causeway than the bridge shown in this plan. The details for water access may change, but likely will need to remain in this area of the roadway. Next, there are prescriptive rights over the property for access by Amtrak, given the existing driveway that crosses the property to the tracks over what you are proposing to be Lot 1. Let me read that again. Are there prescriptive rights over the property for access by Amtrak, given the existing driveway that crosses the property to the tracks over what you are proposing in Lot 1? If so, that area may need to be shown as an easement area. A legal option or release from Amtrak.
A legal opinion,
I'm sorry, a legal opinion or release from Amtrak should be provided to be certain a prescriptive easement has not been established in that area of Lot 1. And there's an enclosure. Showing the access path, a parking area, the roadway and bridge.
That's not the roadway and the bridge, but it's a nice.
Is
bridge.
that, well, it's okay. Hey, it convinced me. A graded path will be created to provide access for fishing and crabbing. The path will connect a limited parking area to at the northwest corner of the bridge. It's calling it a bridge, to the water below.
I think this is the
Connecticut.
proposal that was mentioned
Connecticut.
about.
right,
Yeah.
right. And it's being revised.
Doesn't look like that now.
Yeah. Okay, from the Connecticut Department of Transportation.
All right, thanks. Do we want to bring up Connecticut DEP,
Sorry, there's
or do we
another
have another one from town
there's
engineer?
a second memo from Janice. Yep, Jernique will bring it up now. This one is dated April 17th.
From Mr. Bill Freeman.
Planning and Zoning Commission from Janice A. Plasiak, Town Engineer, April 17, 2023. Vizio Knapp Subdivision, Leeds Island Road. Revised plans were received on April 14, 2023, and I remain concerned about the inadequate site distance from the proposed driveways. The applicant shows on the plan that 390 feet of site distance is required per the state of Connecticut Highway Design Manual for the intersection site distance on Florida Road with a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. However, lots 2 and 3 are not able to achieve this site distance in both directions as shown in sheets C7 and C8. This is primarily due to the vertical curvature of the road and the roadway high point at approximately the shared property line between lots 2 and lot 3. When asked about this limitation, the engineer's response was that less site distance is acceptable because these are existing driveways, so it is okay not to meet the requirements. While the design manual may have exceptions for existing driveways, I would disagree that these driveways fall into that category since the historic use of the driveways has been limited and not used daily by occupants or residents. With the change in use to residential, the current standards should apply. I am concerned that the lots are being created with unsafe access when a safer option may exist. I would suggest the applicant consider one shared driveway as far as possible on lot 2 to maximize site distance in both directions and provide safe access to the 2 lots and minimize impacts to the road frontage of the scenic road.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Scott, in addition to the staff memos, we do have some sort of formalized letters or memos. One is from the Land Acquisition Commission. One is from the Scenic Roads Advisory Committee. And there is also one from the Guilford Land Trust. Would the commission like to read those, or they are a part of the public record?
Yeah, let's read those as well, please.
Okay. let's start, give us a minute, sorry. Let's start with the land acquisition commission.
Sean, please.
Okay. I'm ready. My voice is sound.
Okay, sorry, we're gonna start with scenic roads, because that's the one we can find. Right now.
Sure.
Okay, planning and zoning, to planning and zoning commission from Scenic Roads Advisory Committee dated April 20th, 2023. Regarding Anna Maria Vizio Knapp special permit and subdivision, Leeds Island Road, Guilford, Connecticut, 06437, assessor map 19, lot 13. The Scenic Roads Advisory Committee held a special meeting with the applicant and their engineer on Friday, April 14th, 2023, to review the project with regard to potential impacts to State Scenic Road Route 146. The Scenic Roads Advisory Committee recommends that the P&Z consider adding these conditions to the special permit and subdivision application should it be approved. The first, confirmation with CTDOT that it will accept the location of driveway curb cuts on proposed two easternmost lots, both of which don't meet state's sightline safety requirements. Please note that to meet this standard would probably require removal of granite ledge on north side of the road, abutting the crest of the hill west of crowding area. This would violate the state's own scenic roads regulations. Next, require that the two easternmost lots use a shared driveway located on the westernmost edge of lot 2, again to improve sightlines and to minimize disruption to the ledge at the eastern edge of the property, and also to preserve the public access parking area used by crab fishermen. Next, prohibition of removal of trees more than 6-inch caliber, other than those to be removed for house construction. Clear cutting should not be allowed. Next, setback house locations as far as possible from Route 146. Next, with regard to the Amtrak driveway on the proposed westernmost lot, the Planning and Zoning Commission should require that Amtrak confirm in writing that they do not have an ownership or use interest through adverse possession, prescriptive rights, or otherwise. Next, given this property's location within a state designated scenic road corridor and the likely presence thereof, a number of endangered and rare plants and bird species, the advisory committee strongly recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission to reduce the number of approved lots to protect its important scenic and environmental resources.
Okay.
Thanks, Sean.
If I can find- Yeah, if you look for land acquisition. And find them other than on the.
Scott, while they're hunting for this, can I ask a question?
Go for it, Phil.
There was a note submitted by Penelope Bellamy, basically questioning whether or not proper notice was given to Amtrak and or the National Railroad Passenger Corporation. Have you seen that? And do we have any comments on that?
That's a question for you, Jamie.
I'm sorry. I thought you were
Yeah.
asking me.
So you're multitasking. I didn't mean to spin you.
That's all
I
right.
was just asking whether or not there was a letter received today, I believe, from Penelope Bellamy.
Mhm.
discussing whether or not the application was deficient by not noticing the National Railroad Passenger Corporation as an abutting neighbor.
Right.
Mr.
It-
Yeah, Chuck
Go ahead.
Mandel here. I'm sorry. There were about 67 adjoiners on this due to the parcel across the street is several owners. So I could flip through the while you could go to another, I can take a look at that while you discuss something else. Let me go through this sheet though.
Thank you, Chuck.
Sure.
Scott, as a point of order, I see Frank is now on the call. Am I still seated or should I step off?
Yeah, it looks like Frank is gonna be seated.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah.
But
And Frank, you're gonna get to. Go
So
ahead.
point of order,
Sean.
point of order, if Frank has not been present for all of the prior segments of this meeting, should be seated.
So all of the segments of the meeting that have happened to this point have been items that are in the public record.
Okay,
I feel comfortable with it. There hasn't been any new information presented other than what's already available to the public.
thank you.
Jamie, I have the memo from DEP. Do we want to read that one or no?
Sure.
Is it significantly?
Thank you, Scott.
So Frank, do you think you could read this one for us?
This is from Mark Knapp, Town of Guilford, preliminary site assessment, map 19, lot 13 project. Current data maintained by the Natural Diversity Database, NDDB. The household and the DEEP easy file portal indicates that populations of the following state endangered, threatened, or special concern species, RCA section 26-306, and or critical habits have been documented within or in close proximity to the area delineated. Please see the attached table for species and or critical habit information. Please note that for purposes of preliminary site assessment, certain sensitive species are not identified beyond their taxa. If additional information is required regarding sensitive species, please email DEP at nddbrequest@ct.gov. Include a snapshot of your map found at the end of this document, your last name and the subject area town. Please be advised that this is a preliminary assessment and not a natural diversity database determination. The purpose of information is to provide a general planning tool which identifies those species that have been reported and may occur on or near the mapped area. A more delineated application and review will be necessary to move forward with any environmental authorization, permit, license, or registration applications submitted to DEEP. If such reviews is required, please return the DEP's easy file portal and select Natural Diversity Database Review to begin the review process. This preliminary site assessment does not preclude the possibility that species not previously reported to the Natural Diversity Database may be encountered on the site. You are encouraged to report incidental observations to the Natural Diversity Database using the appropriate survey form and follow the instructions for submittal. We recommend filed surveys be conducted in order to evaluate potential habit and species presence. Field surveys should be performed in qualified biologists with the appropriate scientific collecting permits at a time when these target species are identifiable. A report summarizing the results of such surveys should include 1, survey date, dates, and duration. 2, site descriptions and photographs. 3, list of component vascular plant and animal species within the survey area, including scientific binomials. 4, data regarding population numbers and or area occupied by the state listed species. 5, detailed maps of the area surveyed, including the survey route and locations of the state listed species. 6, statement resume indicating the biologist's qualifications. The site survey report should be sent to Connecticut DEP NDDB program, deep.nddbrequest@ct.gov for further review by the program biologist. Natural diversity database information includes all information regarding listed species available to us at the time of request. This information is a compilation of data collected over the years by the Department of Energy Environmental Protection's Natural History Survey and cooperating units of DEP, landowners, private conservation groups, and the scientific community. This information is not necessarily the result of comprehensive or site-specific field investigations. Current research project and new contributors continue to identify additional populations of species and locations of the habitats of concern, as well as enhance existing data. Such new information is incorporated into the database and accessed through the Easy File portal as it becomes available. This letter is computer generated from our existing records and carries no signature. If, however, any clarification error is noted, or if you have any further questions, please contact the following: CTDEP Bureau of Natural Resources, Wildlife Division, Natural Diversity Database at 79.
That's good, Frank.
Oh, thank you.
So it goes on to describe the what's in the area: the eastern box turtle, the spotted turtle, the wood turtle, the great egret, the snowy egret, the glossy ibis, the little blue heron, bombardier beetle, and small skullcap.
Okay,
All right. Jamie, were you able to find
yes, I
any of
was.
those others that you were mentioning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be reading into the record the memo from the Land Acquisition Commission dated April 14th, 2023 to the Planning and Zoning Commission with a copy to the Board of Selectmen from Gary McElhiney, forgive me, Gary, Chairman, regarding the Anna Maria Visoyu Knapp subdivision, Leeds Island Road, Guilford, Connecticut, 06437, Assessor Map 19, Lot 13. The Land Acquisition Commission at its April 6, 2023 meeting reviewed the request for the town of Guilford to accept the public access easement as part of Anna Maria Visoyu Knapp subdivision on Leeds Island Road. The subdivision is proposing a public access area on the eastern side of the property adjacent to an area that is a popular spot for many leisure activities, including crabbing, fishing, boating, and scenic viewing. The Land Acquisition Commission has concerns regarding the public access area as shown and the ability to provide the necessary public access to coastal, thank you, resources, including dedicated parking, which currently exists. The Land Acquisition Commission voted not to make a recommendation for the town to accept the public access easement until a viable area is defined with acceptable parking and allowed uses described for walking, fishing, crabbing, birding, sightseeing, recreation, and other uses. The Land Acquisition Commission would like to review additional information regarding the public access area at its next meeting on May 4th, 2023. And Jernique can pull up the Guilford Land Trust memo.
Thank you. This is dated March 30th, 2023. Hello, Ms. Stein. I'm reading in regards to the proposed open space subdivision on Leeds Island Road that has been submitted to planning and zoning by Anna Maria Visoyu Knapp.
God, I'm sorry, I'm getting.
Husband, Chris Knapp.
You're
cutting in and out.
We can't hear you.
All right.
You want me to take
That's
over,
fine.
Scott?
Yep, go for it, Phil.
I've been in regular communication with Ms. Visoyu Knapp's husband, Chris Knapp, about the proposed project. Guilford Land Conservation Trust is tentatively willing to accept conveyance of the 5.99 acre parcel listed as open space on the open space subdivision map dated January 18th, 2023. This acceptance is contingent upon the following conditions. One, a formal vote by the entire GLCT Board of Directors, which cannot occur until at least April 11th. Permanent hard boundary markings are installed at all corners of the parcel. Conveyance of the parcel to the GLCT before any development of the approved building lot begins. 4, results of a title search by the current owner documenting any easements that would exist across the parcel. 5, documentation from Amtrak and a butter about their legal interests or rights of way, if any, over the parcel. 6, documentation from NAP, abutter Leet Associates LLC, and Amtrak as to legal interests or right of ways specific to cattle tunnel at the west end of the proposed open space parcel. 7, the GLCT must approve any changes in the final approved open space subdivision plan affecting the property to be conveyed to the GLCT. 8, formal approval by the town of Guilford for open space subdivision. Please let me know if you have any questions regarding our interests or conditions that need to be met for us to accept the proposed conveyance. Thank you, Spencer Meyer, President, GLCT.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, this is Chuck Mandel. Let me,
Hey, Chuck.
yeah, hi, I have an answer for you about the Amtrak. So that's an excellent question. We did consult with John Guskowski, your former town planner, and he informed us that Amtrak is treated as a road, the right of way, just like we don't contact DOT as an adjoiner. We do not need to contact Amtrak, and we were told that by your former zoning officer. So no, the answer is no, we did not contact. I'm sorry?
How former was he?
John Guskowski, he was just before Jamie. I believe you had him part-time.
He served as interim planning consultant. He's the principal of the firm Tyche Planning and Policy.
Okay, Chuck, there was a few kind of regular themes there. I wonder if you can speak to. The first was the question about Amtrak easements. Were you guys able to look into that?
So we did have a title search done, and I believe Mr. Knapp is on. I believe he can speak more and give you more information than I can. So if you, Mr. Knapp, if you're willing to share your information.
Sure, happily. Thank you, Chuck. Yes, so the question is around whether easements exist from Amtrak over the property, and we can say definitively that there are no easements from Amtrak over the property. We have had a title search performed to indicate that that has been shared for the record, and it is in the file for this hearing. As well, Amtrak has provided a letter, an email indicating that they don't have any record of easements. So that matter would be closed.
All right. Thank you. The second one that I jotted down, Chuck, was the concerns about driveway. Do you want to speak to that?
You're muted, Chuck.
Oh, that was it. I gave him a whole speech. Yeah, so typically DOT will not look at sightline plans until it's approved. We did send these over to DOT, and there are no, for residential properties, it's a little bit more, their restrictions are a lot looser than typical sight lines for commercial spaces on state roads. So these driveways have been used over the years. There is no record of any accidents on there. But we are willing to look at Janice's comments in regards to combining the driveway, getting rid of the easternmost lot where the crabbing area is, and we can look at combining the driveways. So that would be another area that we can look at. And in addition, I think the state, the DOT was planning on raising, not putting the bridge there, but they were going to raise the grade in that area to prevent flooding. And those plans are, I don't have copies of them, but there was a talk of them raising that to reduce flooding. So that would increase, that would help the sight line. But as it stands now, what's under our control, we could certainly combine the driveways if that would mitigate any concerns from Janice.
Okay, and then the last item, since this is an open space subdivision, and as you kind of heard mostly from Kevin McGee's memo, you have to kind of designate where you're planning, who you're planning to give the land to, or the land rights to. Do you have you put that in your proposal? Is that decided?
So, no, we don't have anything formal from the Guilford Land Trust, but based on that March 30th letter, they are very interested in acquiring that. But as I said, it depends on the final configuration of what happens to the open space. There are other ways to do this. I know we could do it as a conservation easement. This open space, and I'm not sure how your new regulations are going to address open space, but it was seen there's fee in lieu of, there are other avenues to explore. And if it goes to family members, I believe we can even ask for a waiver and have no open space if it was going to be deeded to family members. And Jamie, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
You are not wrong with conventional subdivision.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if that answered your question, but as right now, that's the best answer I have.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners before we ask questions of the public?
Yeah.
Ted?
All right, so my understanding is you've made an application as an open
Open space subdivision.
open space subdivision. And my reading of the regulation is that the property being conveyed is not supposed to be a marsh or a flood zone or a steep slope or something like that. And further, it says that the conveyance of the property has to be a clear benefit to Guilford and its residents. And so I see two problems here. One, the area that's being talked about being donated is entirely marsh or almost entirely marsh. And I mean, there's no possibility of hiking paths on this property. It doesn't give access to something else because it doesn't give access to anything. It's a marsh. And I don't see the benefit to the town of this property being conveyed. And so I mean, to me, I can't understand how we could approve this as an open space application. And I mean, we're going to hear from all kinds of people about objections to this, but we should definitely listen to all these people because they've come out and they have a right to speak. But before we even get to that, I can't see where the public benefit is from donating non-buildable, non-usable marsh and flood zone area as a benefit to the town. I just don't see it. And maybe Mr. Mandel can enlighten me on this point.
Yeah, Chuck, he's speaking of section 273-217, the criteria for approval. That's what it Ted's referencing.
Yep, I understand that. So in regards to the open space, steep slopes, wetlands, tidal marshes, there is a provision with I believe 3/4 of the commission, we can get a waiver of the steep slopes and wetlands. And I believe that to be true. So it is available for the commission to act on that and to approve that based on the 3/4 commission vote. That said,
wait a minute. So you're saying that in order to get this approved as an open space special permit application, it would require a 3/4 vote of the commission as opposed to a majority vote?
So a 3/4 vote to waive that specific requirement, correct?
To waive that requirement, yes, that's true.
The
In
specific
addition,
requirement is that no more than 25% of the donated land can be I'm sorry, the donated land cannot be more than 25% of the overall land or the overall parcel.
Scott, for quick math.
If it's got marsh and whatnot.
You need 6 of 7 commissioners to vote to approve that.
Understood. And it also, so the land trust already owns that little triangular piece that's already there, and that is all uplands. And in addition, on lot number 1, which is the most western lot, if you, Jamie, I don't want to burden you too much. Would you be able to put that sheet 4 up relatively quickly, or?
I'm going to give it a try.
If
Yep.
not, I could just walk. Okay, I apologize for my
No,
ineptness in
don't
this
apologize.
technology.
That's my bad. That's
All
my
right.
bad.
Jamie,
All
I
right.
can share it if that, I have it up if that would help.
Okay, go ahead, Larry. Thank you. Yep.
All right, let's see. Okay, is this what you were looking for?
There was yeah, if you can go all the way to the west, please. That's lot 2. There you go. Okay, so if you look above, you see where the brown, or it says lot 1, and you see there's a little bit of a jog just north of the well location. And there's a double line that you can see that's just north. It's over to your left. Oh, slide it back over, Larry.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, if you can read the text to the north, the top of the sheet, it says existing cattle crossing. So there is land to the north of Amtrak, and that is a viable crossing. I walked through it. It's a very interesting little passageway, but it is good for cattle pedestrian passage, and we would grant access through that in the future. There could be access to that to walk to the next open space if that ever happened. So we're not cutting that off completely. I believe that's a landlocked piece to the north. So we would be providing future access if that ever got granted on the other side of the Amtrak. And if you go back, if you go back to the east,
Whoops,
Mr. Rizzola,
Yeah.
head to the right. Yep.
keep going.
Yep. I just want to go to that little triangular piece.
That parcel to the north with the cow tunnel is currently private property, is it not?
Yes, it is, but I believe there is some upland there, but I think it could at some point in the future maybe be contiguous with another open space parcel. That's why we left that open in case there was any access to that. And currently the Guilford Land Trust owns that piece in that, I don't know how that ever got conveyed, but that's where it stands. So this would just add to additional Guilford Land Trust property.
All right,
All right,
but
thanks, John.
I guess I'm sorry to be pedantic about this, but as I read the regs, it requires that this is a clear benefit to the town, the donation of this property. And it also, unless you can get 6 out of the 7 commissioners to go along with this.
Want your hat and the headlamp inside, or do you want it now?
It doesn't seem like conveying a marsh is gonna. I mean, I just don't see how we're technically on solid ground here to even consider approving this as an open space application.
Chuck Mandel. I don't know. I mean, so what is valuable? Is upland more valuable? I mean, what's the purpose of the upland? So people can walk it. This will be protected by the land trust. No one will be able to access it. There won't be any activity at all, and it can be certainly monitored. I don't believe that just having open space being upland is more valuable than tidal marsh. I just don't see why you can differentiate between, it's just protecting, this is really protecting a valuable resource here. So
Well,
we're
you're saying
entitled to
it's a
different.
valuable, but you're saying it's a valuable resource. But, when I think about something that's going to benefit the town, I think about where we could put a playground, where we could put hiking trails, where people could use the property. This is a marsh. Nobody's going to use this property. And it strikes me that what's going on here is you've got a landowner who's got to pay insurance on this marsh and is donating it to another entity so that he doesn't have to pay the insurance anymore. But I don't see, I personally, as one commissioner, I don't see the benefit to the town or to the people of Guilford of the conveyance of this marsh.
Chuck Mandel. So I disagree, just because you have, there's active recreation and there's passive recreation. As I was surveying that piece, I noticed many people would park in that area to watch the birds. So that is a great location to do some bird watching or watch wildlife. Not everyone is able to hike everywhere. So I think that is a valuable asset in regards to being able to observe nature. And I think it is a valuable asset. So there we disagree. And
Oh, Chuck, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
If it wasn't conveyed as open space, you could still stop on the side of the road and watch the birds.
Yeah, I mean, you'll never be able to develop this property.
I don't, Chuck Mandel, I don't disagree, Mr. Johnson, but right now people park there illegally. The state does not allow people to park within the state right of way. Even the crabbing area, people park there illegally. And I know the state a lot of times will put these markers down to not allow people to park for safety. And so I do have the statute that says that cars are not allowed to park within that state right of way. So right now, all the people who crab there, they're doing that illegally.
They might be parking
Bill Freeman.
illegally, they're not crabbing illegally.
No, they're not crabbing illegal, but their vehicles are there illegal.
Well, unless they've been dropped off.
I'm not arguing, but I've seen cars parked there, so.
Sure.
Yep, okay.
I have a question, Chuck.
Yeah.
What percentage of that total open space area is upland and not upland? Because I see lots of trees in it. Are they swamp trees or are they, what is in there?
That's a good question, and that's a calculation I will have to make, Mr. Freeman.
So you don't actually know the ratio between the wetland, marsh area and the upland area?
No, I don't have a percentage. No, I do not.
But
It does seem like there's quite a bit of foliage in there and trees and such. And I do know from previous conversations that benefit is not always just physical access. It is also just the protection of the flora and the fauna that's in there and sort of being overseen by a group of people, Guilford Land Trust.
I will
I have a question.
certainly have that information. Yep.
Chuck, so Chuck, what happens if you fail to meet the 75% threshold for the open space subdivision? You go conventional?
We can go conventional, yes.
Now, would that change the layout of the application?
The only restriction, and we do have an open space, we do have a conventional subdivision shown on here. So the only restriction, and the reason we went to the open space subdivision is to give us more flexibility on the building setback lines. So if you look at lot 1, which would be the one furthest to the west.
The other way.
The other way, there you go. And if you zoom in, so if you look at the, on this sheet, we don't show the open space, we don't show the building setback lines, but it would be a much smaller house, Kevin, but it would in fact fit on there. So yes, we could do a conventional subdivision. That's one of the criteria for an open space, is to demonstrate the same number of lots for a conventional subdivision as opposed to an open space subdivision. So we can show 3 viable lots with a conventional subdivision.
So you're saying, so the open space application actually enables you to make sure I heard you correctly, actually build larger houses?
It allows us to use the building setback lines to the advantage of either the land. We can push we can put the houses further to the north, further away from the road. So actually, Kevin, it works both ways. Yes, you may be able to build larger houses, but it gives us the flexibility to have the houses further away from other resources.
Huh.
We create our own setbacks with an open space subdivision, just like we did on Long Hill Road. We were able to create our own building setback lines.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Chuck, the difference would be the houses might be smaller, the setbacks might be a little different, but there would be no open space.
Well, we could ask for a fee in lieu of for that.
Yeah, the requirement would be 10% open space.
And in other words, it wouldn't be
It wouldn't be
pay a
60.
fee in lieu of because of the 10% would probably not be.
Correct, right. So right now we're offering about 58%. And the only lot that would have the smaller house would be lot 1. That's where the building setback lines are tighter. But lots 2 and 3 would be the same size.
So you could potentially do an open space subdivision and then offer all those acres as part of the open space?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So this was basically to give you more flexibility with placement of units.
Exactly. And essentially it was for lot 1 that was what drove this.
So essentially you would come back with something very similar to this, but just not have it go to the land trust.
Correct. Actually, I hate to do this to you, Jamie. I think let me see what sheet. We do demonstrate the conventional subdivision. Let me take a quick look.
I think it's sheet 2 or 3 or 4. I'm not sure.
It's sheet 2 of 8. So if you look at the upper left-hand corner, you can see where the building setback lines are for for a it would be a long house.
Like a ranch.
Correct. So the lot itself would be 6.5 acres, but the buildable area would be right where it says those CHDs, those are Connecticut Highway Department markers that are in. So they would just be in that area. But the BL represents the building setback line on there.
Right, and then you're showing the rest of the spaces
land
as
to the
being.
land trust as well.
I'm sorry?
And it still would be offered to the land trust as well, correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners?
And I'm sorry, I don't need to interrupt Chuck Mandel. And you see the flood lines there. So just north of where it says flood, that's all X zone. Everything south of that line is, I believe it's an AE 12. If you scroll over to the right a little bit, the flood line is actually, and bring it down a little bit, Jamie. Yeah, so you see flood zone X and flood zone elevation 11. So all the structures would be in flood zone X, which is area of no flooding.
Right. But the roadway is actually in the elevation AE 11.
AE 11, correct.
And you're thinking that that's proposed at some point to be raised somewhere?
I believe more towards the east, towards the crabbing area. I think that was the area where it'd be flooding.
Okay.
And you can see the building setback lines on lot 2 and 3, where it says BL. Those won't change. That's where it was really essentially for lot 1 to give us a little bit more flexibility, and we could put the house further to the north, further away from the road.
And then you were going to push the driveway over to lot 2 to accommodate 3, basically?
Correct. So you can see that dash line, yeah, right in there. That's an existing driveway right now. So yes, based on Janice's comments, we could split that driveway and have an easement to go over to lot 3, and then we could eliminate. So if you look to the bottom right where it says CHD found, that's the Connecticut Highway Department by the crabbing area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right in there. So that little dashed area, that's where cars are. It's either a drop-off area or where some people do park at times.
But this piece of property doesn't have any official easements or parking given to anybody. You're not responsible for that, correct?
Correct. That is not, that's all within the state right of way. So it's all south. That highway marker denotes the, what the deal with the state of Connecticut owns. So anything south of that blue line, magenta, blue line, whatever color that is highway. It belongs to the state of Connecticut.
But you were proposing to give a little easement over in that corner where that bump out is?
Yeah, well, if you see where it's, yeah, right, we were gonna donate, we're gonna give an easement right along, adjacent, right where the cursor is right now. To allow for pedestrian access and greater access, to that, body of water there, that tidal area.
Okay. Commissioners, I'd like to take your temperature on how do you want to proceed on this, and basically in lieu of the discussion about the waiver. If the commission's not feeling like, if there's a significant amount of the commission's not feeling like they want to grant a waiver, then there's not a ton of reason to continue pursuing the application. I guess it depends on what's going to happen. It depends on what's going to happen to the land. If the Guilford Land Trust wants the land, then that's one thing. Maybe that's a reason to make it. I don't know. Sean, do you have a comment?
No, I just I wanted to be clear about what you're saying. The waiver for
75%. We would have to grant a waiver to have this marshland count as open space for the purpose of the application, and that requires a 3/4 vote of the commission.
Jamie, could you grab that exact section possibly?
My only comment about that is that it's not open space that the public can use.
Yeah. No kidding.
Right.
Unless you're wearing wading boots or,
you shouldn't be in a marsh.
Fishing.
You shouldn't be in there trampling around in a marsh. That's not good for the marsh.
No.
Right.
Chuck, are you?
So the open space application really only favors the applicant in this case.
Right.
Other than the fact that if it was open space, the land trust may get the deed to the marsh. That, I guess that could be positive.
And one house is further away from the road than it would be otherwise.
Yeah, and gets to be bigger.
Right. That's right. The applicant mostly favors some of the open space.
Isn't there some upland area? I mean, it's not all, the whole thing isn't marsh, is it? I mean, it has a pretty treed area to the west there, no?
Not much.
Not much. This is mostly marsh, Bill.
Look at the aerial view. So if you
I think
Larry,
there's slightly more acreage to the open space. What exactly that acreage is, I'm not sure what it entails.
Yeah, Chuck Mandel. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's primarily marsh. So even that calculation, Mr. Freeman, it's negligible in regards. We would still need a waiver, no matter what that percentage.
Oh, okay, because of the percentage.
Yeah, exactly. It would never meet the criteria for that.
Jamie, I've been trying to find it. I'm not finding the exact wording. Can you find the exact wording for that waiver, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
The only thing
It's
is,
actually
to me is it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other for me, that it's going to end up in the same configuration. It's just maybe affecting the placement of a house or the size of a house. Other than that, it's the same thing.
Except that
still,
what we have been, the applicant has requested is an open space special permit. That's what we're considering today. And I think, Scott, you should ask informally among the commissioners whether they could get behind the 75% needed to give the waiver.
Yeah, that's what we're discussing now.
But I think, Ted, that the piece of property will end up in the same hands eventually. It'll end up in the Guilford Land Trust. He's just using
Maybe.
mechanism of the open space as a vehicle to get through the planning, through the approval process. After that, either if he goes conventional or this way, the piece of property is going to end up essentially looking the same.
But that may be, but the application that we are looking at is this open space special permit. And my view is application does not meet those criteria. That's my personal view.
Yep. Jamie, do you have that?
Yeah,
Section, yeah.
Scott. Yep. Hold on. Scott, I'm going to ask that you proceed here.
Well, I mean, basically, we're still. So the other part of this, commissioners, is in the event that we decided we didn't want to do the waiver, then technically there wouldn't be any reason to proceed with the application. There wouldn't be a reason to proceed with a whole lot of folks that have spent the time to come out here and to come onto the Zoom call. That being said, if the applicant would then turn around to do a subdivision application, and there would be opportunity for public comment on that, we'd end up doing this again on a different date, basically.
But
But it would be the same.
procedurally, Scott, isn't that what we have to do?
Yes, I'm just
No,
putting it
I
out there so everyone in the
understand- I
room
understand
understands.
that it's a lot of running around here, but I mean, the applicant chose to make this application, which is an open space special permit. And my guess is that that's not going to get approved.
Chuck, did you mention before that you don't have to have a public hearing with a traditional, or did I mishear that?
Typically, yeah, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
It happens during our regular meeting, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, but I think typically we do allow public comment. Is that, I can't remember.
I mean, you can
the
always allow.
current
public
rule
comment,
is.
but a subdivision application is not a public hearing item. And I did
Right,
find
it
that.
happens during the regular meeting.
Right.
Correct.
So,
Okay, so I think this is what you're looking for here, Scott. The area dedicated to open space shall not consist of a greater percentage of area classified as wetland, watercourse, 100-year floodplain, or slopes in excess of 25% than the parcel as a whole. This requirement may be waived by a 3/4 vote of the commission in accordance with the following standards.
right, and thank you, Jamie. And the easiest way to look at this is that entire portion, the 58%, is within a flood zone. So
Okay.
that easily is requiring a waiver.
I'm sorry, Chuck Mandel. Jamie, there were other lines below that that gave the commission reasons to grant the waiver. I'm sorry to bounce back to that.
No, you're
No, that's
absolutely right.
perfectly
Chuck,
fine.
you're absolutely
Yeah, so I mean, if someone could read 1 through, well, I'll just read a couple of them.
I'm happy to do that.
Sorry,
Okay.
go ahead, Jamie.
Yep, number 1, in order to preserve high quality forest land, in order to preserve areas with significant specimen trees, in order to preserve important animal or plant habitat, especially rare or endangered species, in order to provide open space land which is contiguous with other open space, both within and outside of the proposed subdivision, or in order to provide access to the open space, in order to provide walking, hiking, or biking trails, in order to protect special wetland areas, streams, or other water bodies, in order to provide land for stormwater management purposes, in order to protect scenic areas or views.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, Chuck, do you want to make an argument related to that?
No, I believe that speaks for itself. There were conditions that gives the commission the latitude to do that, especially protecting water bodies.
All right, great.
Larry Rizzolo, there was one of the reports that we read that talked about endangered species and such that would be habitat in that marshland. So
Yeah.
that would
Those
be,
would probably be more upland, I would think.
Well, so let
I'm
me
not
just,
willing to say that. I
wait,
mean,
that was the DEP, and the only comment I'll make about that is most of that memo was about what to do if you're going to do a study of the species.
Mhm.
It wasn't an actual study of species in that lot
I see.
necessarily.
Yeah, so then that becomes a question of what is in that marshland and how important an ecosystem is it that we would want to grant a waiver.
Right.
So without more information, I'm not sure we could grant we can't.
And all of the
grant waiver
projects,
right
all
now.
of the submissions that we have that are in title, come in touch with title areas, have those same exact criteria. It's not unique to that particular parcel.
But Chuck
I've never
Mandel,
had that read before. Why was that even? Where did we get, why did that come up as something that was proposed to become part of this application?
What do you mean?
Well, we've done other applications where they touch right up to the water and, and we never had anybody mention all the different species, the wading birds and the egrets and all those things. Why is this particular parcel then subject to that memo?
Because this had hatching on the natural diversity database map, which I can't speak to the ones that you're talking about historically, but this one actually has shown up and historically has had sightings of listed species.
So is it better that we protect it with, the open space, or is it better that we have it go as a regular subdivision and then it just goes to the land trust? I don't know. What's your opinion, Kevin? I mean, you're.
Well, one of the things, it's funny, I think one of the things we should think about, because I think it's been thrown in our lap, is do we want to have more information? Do we want an official survey or a more comprehensive survey done to see what species are out there? That may take some time. That's basically what DEP is recommending, but it's just a recommendation. Kevin's recommendation as well, but we have final say whether or not that needs to be followed through on. I mean, would that be information that we would find useful to determine whether or not we want a conventional or an open space subdivision? I don't know.
Can we just agree that no matter how it's handled, nothing's going to happen there?
Right.
Right.
So
I mean,
Up at the same place, do we want to do it twice?
yeah.
All right, so-
You're not going to turn this into the second rock pile. You can't develop this particular piece of property.
All right, so let's go ahead and do, before we proceed much farther, let's do an informal discussion of whether we take your temperature of whether you feel like you want to proceed with the opportunity of waiving at the next public hearing, or do you feel like there isn't, you've seen enough and you don't feel like you think you want to do that waiver? So let's go through with Kevin. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'm worried about, because I agree with everything Ted is saying. So I want to vote that way, but I'm also worried about us shooting ourselves in the foot and voting on conventional, and having something come back and bite us. I don't know if I have all the intangibles to know what risk we could be taking by denying this as an open space.
Okay. So it sounds like you would prefer for it to go to a second public hearing with more information being gathered between now and then?
I would agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, I think
Ted?
Kevin makes a good point. I think I am kind of in between. I don't really know which way is the better way to go, and it would be better if we had more information, a little time to think about it, actually, and sort of have some discussions with Jamie and maybe, the wetlands official too as well, McGee.
Ted?
At the moment, I can't see how I could be in favor of an open space special permit here.
Do you see it? You don't see any value in considering?
Nope.
Phil?
I am against this at the time being. I mean, I don't think that conveying this parcel has any, I mean, there's public benefit, but there's no additional public benefit by having it be land trust versus a private parcel.
Sean?
I am with Kevin as far as an additional public hearing.
Okay, Frank?
I would like to go to an additional public hearing as well.
All the vote.
So, I guess we'll call a vote. So, well, I mean, there isn't a vote really. It's more of,
Well, yeah, it's a vote. You could call a vote, all in favor of granting the waiver or not.
I mean, Jamie, if we vote on the waiver, can we vote to change our minds later?
I would recommend that you consider a vote to either close the public hearing or continue the public hearing.
Correct.
Yes, I would agree.
All right.
And then you
That's-
also request an extension from the applicant. And if they are.
If we're
in
going to
favor-
continue.
Any waiver room for the public that wants to speak.
Yes,
So
and
I'll
also,
make a motion
Sorry.
that we continue it and not close it, and that we ask the applicant if he would allow us to extend the timeframe.
With the caveat that if we continue it, we're going to hear public hearing, public comment for the
I
thank
think,
you.
but
Mr.
we
Chair.
should have no objection to that. That should be part of our job is to hear the public.
So perhaps before you take that vote, Scott, you would hear from the public?
I'm not
mean,
opposed
at
to,
that-
let's the people have shown up. They've been waiting
right.
That's
patiently
right.
for 2 hours.
Exactly.
There's
Let's
no
hear 'em.
reason to vote. Okay.
Let's hear 'em.
All right, so we'll keep going. The way this works is the first thing I'll call for is questions from the public, questions only, please. Generally, we like to try and have everyone keep to 3 minutes. Mostly when they're doing comments, but also if you're doing questions, please try to keep it to 3 minutes. If you have a question, please raise your hand either through the public forum on Zoom or just, raise your hand and Jamie will call on you. Jamie, do you want to start with folks in the room or do you want to start with folks on Zoom?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. We have a list here of about 11 speakers. First, I would like for Mr. Spencer Meyer from the Guilford Land Conservation Trust to come forward and speak. I think there
Again,
was some
sorry, Jamie, is this questions?
questions. I'm sorry. No, apologies. Okay, Spencer has a question. If you could just
Okay,
turn around
great.
and look at the camera there on the wall.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Spencer Meyer. I am the president of the Guilford Land Conservation Trust, and I also happen to be a neighbor in the general vicinity of the property. And I have more to say later during comments to clarify some potential misrepresentations. But now my question is, a few times people have referenced that under conventional subdivision, the land would convey to the land trust anyway. And I would like the people that said that to clarify what they mean by that, because I'm not aware of that, and I've had no discussions to that. So clarification of what that means.
Thank you.
And Jamie, that's difficult to kind of hear. Is it getting feedback between your machine and the mic or something?
Was that the case? I'm really not quite sure. I'm going to keep talking and mute my computer. Give me a thumbs up if you can.
I can't hear you, but I could barely hear him.
I think unfortunately, perhaps the best way to do it is if we stood maybe closer to Alan in the middle there and looked up at the camera, you might not get as much feedback. Were you able to hear Spencer's question?
Okay.
No.
Not really.
I'm behind the
It'd be
computer.
Yeah,
better if
maybe
you
come-
use your
On the
microphone,
computer.
Jamie.
Thank you.
Wow, I feel very powerful now that I'm behind this machine.
Winner of the bell.
Good evening again, everyone. I'm Spencer Meyer. I'm the president of the Guilford Land Conservation Trust, also a neighbor of the parcel. My question for now, and I will have some comments later to clarify some things that were said, but my question for now is at least twice it was stated by the applicant and also by one or more commissioners that under a conventional subdivision, the land would also convey anyway to the land trust. And I would like folks that said that to clarify why they said that and under what means that would occur, because I'm not aware of the mechanism by which that would happen. And I've not had any discussions about a conventional subdivision conveying property to the Guilford Land Conservation Trust. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, for any
Scott, Chuck
Go
Mandel,
ahead, Chuck.
I can speak to that. We didn't mean it was going to get conveyed to the land trust. There is no mechanism for anything automatic. There are different ways we could convey that, either conservation, homeowners association. So there are other ways to convey that property to protect it. It's not necessarily the Guilford Land Trust. So I apologize if it was misunderstood or misrepresented. It certainly wasn't intended for that. But certainly the Guilford Land Trust would have been the first agency to be contacted. So I hope that clarified it for you.
I'm Bob Yarrow. I'm a member of the Scenic Road Advisory Committee and a neighborhood resident. I have a question for, I guess, for the developer and Chuck. Under state law, could you put a spade in the ground on any of the wetlands on this site? Could you develop a bit of it under state law? I mean, I think I know the answer, and the answer is no. You know, so the question isn't whether it's going to be protected or not, or prevented from being developed. It will not be developed, you know, whether you get your subdivision or not. I just thought I'd say that, and the answer is, please.
Well, I disagree, because as we know, anything's possible with the proper approval. So if something was deemed for stormwater control, if something was deemed necessary for public safety, I would say that not necessarily a spade would never go in the ground. I would never say never. Let's just put it that way. So this would just be one level of protection that if the land trust controlled it, it could protect it essentially. But never say never. I don't know.
Well, you're into semantics now. Let's just get real about what's going to happen on this site, whether you subdivide it or not. It will not be developed. So
I'm sorry, Chuck Mandel. The question was, would a spade ever go on the ground? Yes, it could at some point.
Well, another reason, I guess, for you not to be involved, right? Thank you. I'll have larger comments later. Thank you.
Any other questions, Jamie, from the audience there?
Question. Yeah. Okay. I saw Alan's hand first. Okay. Come on up, Alan. And please keep it to a question. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, Chuck Mandel, before they start, I would like to have these comments and I could write them down. And instead of going back and forth with the public, I would rather let them speak. And then at the end, if I can address them, I will. If not, the public hearing will remain open and I can address them at the next meeting.
That's fine for the comments. We're in questions, so we're just trying to answer questions at this section.
My name's Alan Fairbank. I live at 77 Leeds Island Road. This is quite close to the crabbing spot. And my question regards the driveway. It seems to me that we've come to some consensus that a safer alternative is to have only one driveway that is shared. But the fact remains that both driveways are dangerous. And so the question is, how is it that half of dangerousness is acceptable? They're both dangerous and they both, in my opinion, would never get approved. You have the town of Guilford and you have the Scenic Road Advisory Committee. Public safety has got to be a primary concern here. And by that condition, I don't think it should be approved.
I don't think there's a way to answer your question there. Sorry.
The question is, why is it safer?
So it's based off the recommendations of the town staff, based off the recommendations of state,
Well, it is true, it's all relative, but it's still dangerous.
Okay.
Next.
Other clarifying questions?
These clarifying questions, please.
Hi, my name's Andrew Page, 414 Moose Hill Road. I am one of the 14 members of the League family that signed the letter opposing the development. And my question is definitely for Mr. Mandel. You folks have discussed that Amtrak has no access across any of the property that's proposed to be developed, but I am very curious, the cow tunnel that my family's used for many generations is also there. And I would like to know if any effort has been made to legally define who has the rights to use that tunnel.
I will defer that to Mr. Knapp, if he can answer that.
Yes, indeed, I can answer that question. So we have performed a title search at the recommendation of town staff to ascertain the rights and the ability to transfer said rights to use the cattle tunnel, and have found in that title search that I do have rights to use that cattle tunnel, and I have the rights to transfer the ownership of those rights. So it's in the title search documents submitted for this hearing. So that matter would be closed.
Thanks. Any other questions there in the audience, Jamie?
I think there's one. Yep, in the back, sir.
My name is Doug Baldwin. I live on Dramara Road and enjoy driving past this property my lifetime. Chuck, question for you that you may not be able to answer now, but the calculations for the RO wastewater, how did you figure that?
There are Chuck Mandel, there are calculations on sheet 3, and that was based on let's see. So that's 60 gallons per person per day for 4 people. That's how that was calculated. And that system can be enlarged. We just took a 4-person residence. And those calculations are shown on sheet number, sheet C4.
And what's the ratio of product water to wastewater?
Do not know. I'm sorry, the wastewater in regards to what? The backwash system for the reverse osmosis?
Well, without knowing what the water that you're going to purify is, you don't know how much wastewater you're going to generate.
Absolutely correct. I can't answer that, but we just made some assumptions. Without actually drilling wells, there's no way of knowing.
So what if those assumptions are 100 or 200% off?
We increase the size of the system.
Do you have the size to do that? We're talking about a lot of water.
I would have to look into that.
I'm guilty of that.
We can talk about theoretical all day long.
I know, but I put in RO systems that have, we've got 6 or 7, 8 gallons to 1 gallon of usable potable water. That's a lot of water you're going to throw away. And 60 gallons a day, that's somebody living on a boat. That's just not the way it works.
They have systems now that can do 1-to-1.
Very wrong, and there's a lot of water that you're going to be having to take care of someplace. And if you have to show that, you have to show that. So you have to do water tests. You have to know what you're going to clean up. Otherwise, it's just a guess.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, please?
One more question.
Hi, my name is Trish Carter. I live at 616 Leeds Island Road. I have a question about the zoning and planning zoning process.
Okay.
Aside from all of these technical details, does the commission have the obligation or authority to have a dialogue about the greater good or damage done to the community by a subdivision such as this that takes away a great asset that can never be replaced? We've been talking about water and setbacks and, you know, the big question is why on earth and by what means could we ever justify doing such damage to this environment? So that's my question. Is there a procedural obligation to consider that?
The obligation is the section we referenced earlier, which was the section 273, 217 criteria for approval. That's the obligation we have.
When did that conversation take place? Is that what we're doing now? Because I haven't heard any of it.
No,
Correct.
that comes under the discussion that happens after the public meeting is closed.
Correct. That's basically that's the reasons for either us approving or not approving the application at the end.
But that takes place behind closed doors or with the public?
No.
It's not, there's nothing is ever closed doors with this commission. It's always fully viewed to the public, but there's no public comment during that period. It's during the regular meeting.
I don't think I understand.
Nothing's ever done behind closed doors.
It is, it's obviously a rhetorical question and I took the opportunity to pose it, but I think we're really all missing the big point here.
Can't hear anything you're saying.
Yeah, you gotta be. Sorry. That was really a rhetorical question, I admit. But I
Yes,
took the
please.
opportunity to pose it because I think we are missing still the big issue, the big point. So that's it.
So respectfully, this is the reason why we have the process we have, so that we can hear everyone's comments and we can hear everyone's questions. Please ask clarifying questions. Please do not create a comment out of a question out of a comment. We will get to comments and we will have plenty of time for everyone to, I'm willing to stay here as long as I need to hear everyone's comments. So please, if you have a clarifying question, this is the time. Otherwise, there will be a time for comments. Jamie, do you have any further questions?
Yes. Yes.
My name is Ben Conlon. I'm a Guilford resident. And I just had a question. One of the documents that was shown, and I forget the exact one, mentioned that it should be investigated whether Amtrak had adverse possession rights to the land. My understanding of adverse possession is that when land lies unused, if an outside party then starts using it and putting it to better use, they kind of adversely possess that land. So I'm asking about basically the Leet family cattle rights. If they've been using that for a long time, could the commission address, would they potentially have adverse possessionary rights to that land?
Thanks. Chuck, do you want to answer that question?
I'll defer to Mr. Knapp for that.
Sure. So the question is specifically around adverse possession by individuals openly using the cattle tunnel?
And
Okay. With regard to Amtrak, the Connecticut General Statutes, Section 47-27 A, indicate that no length of possession, use, or occupancy by a railroad street railway corporation of land belonging to another shall create or continue any right in or to such land. So this is a passage that my attorney pointed me to, essentially saying that a railroad can never attain rights or a prescriptive rights, adverse possession rights to land belonging to another, despite any use.
And the cattle as well?
Right, so there would need to be open use of the cattle tunnel, and there's been no such use. In fact, it's not. You can, if you see it for yourself, although you'd have to trespass to see it. There is a significant amount of vegetation and things in the way. So there's no established path that's being used currently. So there's no open use for that to substantiate the claim to open and obvious use.
Thank you. Jamie, any other clarifying questions?
We do not see any further questions.
All right,
There's
we have
one
one.
on Zoom.
We have one lined up on the video. David Grisby, please.
Yes, thank you. We seem to be toggling back and forth here between whether this application continues as an open space subdivision or whether based off of the indications of the commission members, it goes back to that the commission indicates it's not interested in entertaining the open space application. And so the applicant may come back as a conventional subdivision. It was rather ominously suggested that open space, or rather that conventional subdivisions are not necessarily subject to public hearing. I'm going to quickly look at 272-15C as in Charlie. A public hearing regarding an application for approval of a subdivision may be held by the commission if, in its judgment, the circumstances require such action, or if required by public, or if required by law. Given the fact that there are so many people at both at the community center and people online here, if this changes to a conventional subdivision, will this commission, which I've heard talk about how it's very open and public, will it commit to any potential conventional subdivision application being an open public hearing?
Yes, based off of, assuming that Jamie's read of the regs is the same as yours, or / our lawyers read of the regs the same as yours. But what I said was I didn't know the answer and that we would look into it. I wasn't saying that we were not going to have a public hearing on the subdivision of it.
My question was, can this commission today commit to, it would be an open public hearing if this same property comes back as a conventional subdivision?
Our intention is for the public to be heard.
That is a sideways answer, but okay.
Well, I think that it's clearly a case where there's a lot of interest by the public, and we certainly would have to allow that interest to be expressed before we reach some sort of a decision.
Yep. All right, I don't see any other questions lined up on the Zoom call. So we'll move towards public comment period. First, we'd like to hear comments from folks that are in support of this application. And I will start with anybody that's there in person. Jamie, is there anyone who would like to speak in support of the application? And a reminder, please, typically we like to keep comments to 3 minutes.
Anyone like to speak in support of the application? I see none. Scott.
All right, anyone on the Zoom call would like to raise their hand? All right, we'll move on to comments again in opposition to the application. Jamie, it sounded like you had a sign-up sheet.
We do. I'll ask Ms. Martha Buck to come.
My name is Martha.
Martha, I'm going to ask you to have a seat here.
And you'll hear a friendly 3-minute timer. Okay.
And Jamie, I think people, our protocol is to have people state their name and their address.
Yes, Martha Buck, 280 Leeds Island Road. My driveway, what my residence is on the very eastern side of Leeds Island. My driveway is right directly across from the parking area that the Crabbers use. Everybody else has spoken against those subdivision driveways being put in there, which I totally agree, because that would be insanity. I think I can safely say that I have the most dangerous driveway in Guilford on Leeds Island Road, especially. The way the road comes from the west, it comes up a rise and then over. The speed limit is 35 miles an hour. Okay, you have this long flat coming from the west, and nobody observes the 35-mile-an-hour limit. They go much faster than that. And I can't see over that rise to get out of my driveway. So I've been there since 2008. I still say a prayer every time I go out, and I've been lucky so far. Regardless of what happens with the subdivision application, I hope that the town will be more aware of how dangerous that 35-mile-an-hour speed limit is. It's crazy to have a recognized recreational area where the speed limit is 35 miles an hour. You have families with children running across that street. You have people unloading boats. You have all kinds of activity going on there. And a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit is just not appropriate. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next I'll call Dolores Hayden.
I just want to interject real quick and make the recommendation. If you go before the police commission, you can discuss with them signage, that sort of thing, related to speed limits and whatnot. So I would recommend you go before the police commission and not police commission, it's the police.
Yes, no, it's the police commission.
Yeah, you go before the police commission to discuss signage and that sort of thing. I certainly would recommend it just to make it a safer situation for you and for the public.
Do they have jurisdiction over state highways?
Well, if they don't, they would know who to talk to.
I'm Dolores Hayden. I live at 125 Prospect Avenue. I'm a retired professor of architecture, urbanism, and American studies with a long interest in historic preservation. And the Route 146 National Register Historic District has been recognized, not just locally, not just statewide, but in the United States as a really important historic resource. It's the road itself, which is an unusual district, and the contributing buildings adjoining it. Route 146 is also a Connecticut scenic road. And currently, the taxpayers of Connecticut have paid over $1 million to fund a survey through the Connecticut Department of Transportation, which is assessing Route 146 and all of its resources and all of the issues about safety and the conservation of a significant resource. So while we are spending that much money with consultants and officials working hard to figure out what should happen to this gem in our town, I would suggest that we really need a moratorium on subdivisions and new construction being approved so that we can wait for the DOT report and have the largest possible amount of information to make these judgments. Because as Trish Carter said, once it's gone forever. But I would also say that listening to the reports of the various people working for the town of Guilford tonight, there are many reasons to pause this subdivision approval because the land is some combination of marsh and ledge. It's not really in a good site for any kind of subdivision. The Crabbing Hole is a major social and recreational center for people who are coming from towns, not just our town, but for towns around. I don't think there's adequate parking or access in any of these plans. And I worry that in order to make these houses, there would also have to be a fair amount of ledge blasted away. The sites are complicated, and I don't think you could imagine this town proceeding with a really difficult, bad building project right next to a National Register historic district. So let's think about it and get it right. This is our chance to get it right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Yarrow. I'm a resident, 715 Leeds Island Road. Had a more than 50-year career as a town planner, urban planner, teacher, 35 years teaching at the graduate level at Harvard and Penn and so forth. So just to put the bona fides on the table, it's not a passing fancy for me. This is something I care deeply about because I live here, but also because I think that this subdivision proposal will be disastrous for the town of Guilford, disastrous for the state of Connecticut, which is designated this as one of a handful of scenic roads. As Dolores said, the state, I'm one of the town's representatives on the new Route 146 management plan working group that's developing this plan. This was not a passing fancy for our elected officials either. Matt Hoy and Christine Cohn and Sean Scanlon and led the effort to get this management plan underway. It'll be completed within a year. I think it would be a terrible mistake to move ahead with either the open space subdivision or the conventional subdivision, given the sensitivity of this land, the fact that with all of this ledge and all of these steep slopes and all of the earth moving that needs to happen to deal with wastewater and so forth, this is going to be a lunar landscape when this subdivision is done. It's going to go from being one of the priceless gems in this town and in this state to a lunar landscape, an embarrassment to the town of Guilford and to the state of Connecticut. We have good reasons. The safety reasons are the strongest ones. The towns and the state's sightline guidelines basically say these driveways should not be built. They are unsafe. And we need to push our town officials and our state officials to stand behind those standards, at least until the management plan is completed. And I urge the commission to pause this effort. I know that's not what we do ordinarily, but because this is such an important location, because it is such a sensitive area, because the destruction will be so great if this goes ahead. And by the way, I did want to say to Mr. Knapp that I know you have a deep and abiding interest in the town and the residents, but your behavior in abandoning that historic cape at 559 Leeds Island Road next to the Palatine Lead House. It's a disgrace what you've done. And that's one of the contributing structures in the National Register nomination recognized by the federal government in the Interior Department as an important historic feature in the landscape of our town.
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think that's inappropriate comments talking about that cape.
Who's speaking? Who's that?
It's Chuck Mandel.
Chuck Mandel.
It's on the property, and we're just.
I'm sorry, I beg to differ. That is not part of this application.
Well, let me just say that it's pardon me? It's adjoining, just in terms of the intent of the owner and his care about the neighborhood and the town of Guilford, it indicates.
Mr. Chairman, Chuck Mandel, once again, I I don't believe you should allow this conversation to continue about an adjacent property.
Mr. Mandel, are you a member of the commission? I wasn't aware that you'd been appointed by the town as a member of the commission.
I was addressing the chairman.
You do not have the floor, sir. Thank you very much.
Please. Thank you. Please keep your comments to the application at hand.
Hey,
There's a
Scott,
hand raised.
I think we need to keep it that it's not personal, and it felt kind of personal there.
I think that goes without saying, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to switch? I see two hands in the virtual room, or you want me to keep going in the space here?
Might as well keep going with the space.
Okay, I'll call Miss Judy Silverman, please.
Well, this is my first planning and zoning meeting that I've attended.
Welcome.
Thank you very
Welcome.
much. I have been working for the past school year at the Guilford Center for Children. And there was something passed by planning and zoning that's going to allow some, I think, affordable housing right near our property. That is, I feel like I've come to save my town. That is already through. I think it's very unfortunate. But anyway, this one, I live at, I'm sorry, Judy Silverman, 974 Leeds Island Road. We've lived there for 36 years. And the first year I lived there, the traffic was, I had counted on the train bridge, the curves, that it would slow people down. Well, I was still letting my cats outside, and my favorite cat ever got killed in front of the house. And for the last 36 years, the motorcyclists, the drivers, no one observes the speed limit. I confess, nor do I sometimes if I'm late. I think you can't put speed bumps on a state road, but that it's, as Martha Buck said, it's outrageous the way people go down the road. And I'm brokenhearted to hear that white cape, which I've watched for 36 years, is going to be torn down. It's charming. I think it's a period house.
Please try to keep your comments to the application.
Okay, breaks my heart. Anyway, so it's like, I just can't imagine adding any more stress to this road that was probably an animal path before it became a Native American path, before it became the white people's path in 1639, whatever. It's just heartbreaking. So I hope we don't do it. Thank you.
Thanks. Just for the record, the Woodruff property that you mentioned next to GCC, that has not come before the Planning and Zoning Commission yet. You'll have opportunity to publicly comment on that project as well.
Hey, thank you. Mr. Andrew Page. Bill, can you please mute yourself? There we go.
Hi, Andrew Page, 414 Moose Hill Road again. Two comments in the letter my family wrote to the P&Z board. It was mentioned that although the proposed development is not technically part of the historical zone or district, whatever we're going to call it, the comment in the letter was that was merely just semantics. And I cannot agree more with that comment. Driving towards the Leek Farm on 146, it should all be part of it is what I think. The other comment I want to make, and I brought some pictures. This is from West Woods looking across or south from Lost Lake back towards the tracks where two of the houses would go. And on slide number 7, it indicates that there would be no adverse effects to the view shed, I think it would dramatically affect it in the negative. So I'd actually like to leave a couple copies of this for the P and Z Commission. And
Sure.
just make the comment that I think it would have a dramatically negative effect on Route 146 and Westwoods and people enjoying that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, forgive me, Mr. Granberry? Granberry? Granberry?
Tom Granberry, 982 Leeds Island Road. First off, I'd like to thank the person whose idea it was to allow actual people to attend this meeting. I know that wasn't a sure thing until 3 days ago or something.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think everybody here appreciates it. We already have a critical safety issue on Route 146. At a meeting last summer with Guilford Police Chief Butch Hyatt, a group of us were told that because of narrow shoulders and restricted sight lines, the police were reluctant to pull speeders over on Route 146 because they considered it was too dangerous. The request made for a driveway in this particular area will certainly contribute to what is already considered an unsafe situation by our own police department. In my opinion, to encourage an unnecessary additional hazard on this stretch of road would be both unwise and reckless. I highly urge the P and Z Commission to turn this application down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Stevens?
Hi, Stephen Stoll, 40 Moose Hill Road. Others have spoken more eloquently than I'm going to, and I made some prepared comments, but my real feeling about this is that it feels incredibly forced and shoehorned in. It feels like an extremely delicate area that can't, in fact, maintain or support development, and it seems dangerous and reckless. So I certainly speak against it. And I think that the sightlines also suggest that fixing them would be a violation of the state's scenic plan for the roads at a time when we haven't even seen that plan actually presented. So I speak against this, and I hope you vote against it.
Thank you.
Alan Fairbank?
Alan Fairbanks, 77 Leeds Island Road. In the interest of making sure this dead horse is dead, I want to beat the dead horse of the safety issue. There's no way in God's earth that either one of these driveways would pass the sightline test, and there's nothing that can be done to make them pass the sightline test. I have a building lot which is about 500 yards west or east of the two eastern lots, and when I was discussing with the owner and the state about what my options were, there is already an existing driveway. This is just to the east of Breakfast Woodworks. There's an existing driveway for an existing lot. And I was told that in order to get my use of that driveway approved, I would have to blast that rock wall, which is just east of that. I don't know if you know the area. There's a sheer rock wall. It's about 25 feet high. I was told by them that I had to blast in order to get the sight lines. And I went back and forth with them on it. And I said it's an existing driveway. How come you think you can impose this on me? Well, they said I can. But I think that in this particular case, both of these driveways as proposed are unsafe by any standard. And I think that they are sufficiently unsafe that this proposal should not be approved, because if it is approved, there will be arguments about the safety of this forever. And it ultimately will not get approved, in my opinion. So please vote this down because of safety issues only.
Thank you.
I've done with you. Okay, thank you. Mr. Bill Lee.
The lady said Bill Lead, and that's me. And came because this property has been in the family since 1660. And I have a real love for it and hate to see it change. And I don't have any control over what happens now. I know my father wasn't happy having it going to leave the family, but my mother was insistent. I saw a confrontation between the two of them where they were arguing back and forth. They'd been to a lawyer that day. And I saw my father throw the will up in the air. And after that, he went upstairs and he was pacing back and forth in his bedroom above where he just left his wife. And he died of a heart attack that night. So he took it fairly hard that she was insistent on having it go directly out of the family, except for the nephew that we've spoken about. And it's another thing that came up tonight was this path down to the railroad. Well, the railroad went through around 1650. And for all these years, there's been access to the 1850. Okay, so yeah, whatever. Yeah. The path down to the railroad is so the workmen can go down there and do the work they need to do on the railroad today, probably more than they used to. But on the other side of the coin, the railroad road has been there, and they put in the tunnel across our property for the cows to go through. They cut through our property to get to where they go, and it's we're up to rock, what we call rock cut, and it's that area you talk about being the swamp. That was totally underwater, probably 9 feet deep in the 38 hurricane. And some of the cottages on Shell Beach Road got washed over to that in the 38 hurricane. And my father pulled them back to waterfront with the horses on the ice that winter. So, there's been a lot of stuff happening around that area over a period of years, not a lot all at once, but it just has been a thing that we haven't lost a lot of property. We still have a lot of property, and happy about that. But on the other side of the coin, it doesn't get any easier with the wallet. So we'll just live with it and go forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. I think to the virtual room, I see Mr. Tim Sperry. Oh,
Tim
sorry.
Sperry.
So
Yes, of course.
I'm good.
Yep, you're all set, Tim. Go ahead.
So Tim Sperry, 22 Broad Street, Guilford. Editorial comment. This is one of the most ill-advised developments that I have ever seen come forward in this town. It's just, it boggles my mind to think that anybody wants to develop it. But I'm going to beat the dead horse as well. I've beaten this dead horse with you guys several times. It's about safety. I drove by there yesterday and looked at it and, you know, sort of observed the traffic on 146. That is an accident waiting to happen. You know, John Bisowitz, thank God, is alive today. But there's going to be something happening when there are cars exiting out of those driveways every day. And we can put a stop to that today. You know, the state of Connecticut is taking a really strong initiative towards a concept called Vision Zero. Zero means attempting to prevent accidents, deaths, whatever. And if we allow this to go forward, whether you merge the two driveways or leave them alone, they're both going to be dangerous. And the speed limit on 146 is 35 miles an hour, but as the chief said, it's not safe. Very few people observe it. You know, we've heard countless stories about people having trouble getting across up at Moose Hill to go over to Shell Beach and on and on. But I just think that the safety issue has got to be paramount. And then there's the whole issue of, you know, I think Bob is right. It's going to be a lunar landscape there. And it's not good for us. It's just simply not good for us. So I hope that you guys will put this development out of its misery. Thank you.
Thanks. Next up is Sarah Shrewsbury.
Hi, all. Thank you. Sarah Shrewsbury, 4 Hunter Drive. I don't want to repeat many things, many good points that others have made. So I think that I will just say that I definitely agree with what Dolores Hayden had said, Bob Yarrow, Andrew Page, Tim Sperry. I grew up off of Moose Hill Road on Dolan Drive, so I've driven that road 1,000 times, and I completely agree that both driveways are absolutely dangerous, and I know that road like the back of my hand. Plus, it's a scenic highway. Once you start blasting that and you start cutting down trees, you're taking away the scenic value of that road. So I strongly advise the commission to vote against this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, just to repeat, anyone on the Zoom call that has a comment, please go ahead and raise your hand to the Zoom platform. Sammy, do you have anybody else there in person that has a comment?
Thank you. So I just talk into it like this.
Yeah, state your name. And
Yeah, my name is Lauren Brown. I live at 35 Flying Point Road in Branford. And I just want to tell a short story. Several years ago, I had a friend who was up here at Yale for a few years from Columbia, the country Columbia. His parents came up to visit once, and the first thing he did was take them for a ride along Route 146 because it was such a gem. So you've heard a lot about the scenic qualities of the road, and we all just hope you can do whatever you can to preserve them. Thank you.
Thank you.
any other, I saw the hand in the back, sir.
Hi, my name is Derek Streeter. I live on 48 Moose Hill Road. I've been a resident since I was 3. A couple of things. One is, I got some notes here about the birds, the species survey. It was not clear exactly whether those sightings and that information that came out of the state database was for the upland areas or the marsh areas. Seems like that ambiguity should be cleared up before we make any real decisions on this. It sounds like across the board, there's a lot more information. Number 2, I disagree with the notion that I agree that the personal attack on the applicant is not necessarily appropriate regards to the cottage. I will say the salt box. It does say a lot about his intentions. I think this is a profit opportunity for the applicant. It doesn't sound like any one of these home sites is going to be his own personal home. Maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't, it does to me. I applied for a 4-foot height variance when I rebuilt my barn on Moose Hill Road. There was no statutory requirement to get the Historic District Commission sign off, but it was a creative solution for the zoning board of appeals at the time to get some oversight into the architectural characteristic of the building that I was intending to build. And so I did that. I think in this case, given the extreme sensitivity of the scenic road, that at minimum, maybe some architectural oversight would be appropriate. And in support of that, or related to that, I think is some testimony about the applicant in the form of other projects and houses that he may have built in town or is intending to destroy. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Nothing here, Scott.
Okay. Looks like that's it for comments. Chuck, do you have anything final that you want to bring up before we continue this to our next meeting?
Chuck Mandel, no, I do not, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Jamie, just to make sure we've got this right, the plan is to continue this to our next meeting, which is the 17th.
Correct. Scott, if I could just
Correct.
interrupt, I see a Logan page with the virtual hand up.
Sure, right in under it. Logan, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Logan Page, Massillon, Ohio. I just wanted to comment, it came up in the last speaker's comments, that the applicant actually does not appear to be at the meeting. And I think that the board needs to recognize that and consider that going forward. Thank you.
Yes, Representative. Okay. Thanks for your comment. All right, I'd entertain a motion from the commissioners to continue to our the 17th.
So moved.
Thank you,
second
Philip.
that.
Thank you, Frank. Kevin Clark,
Yes.
Ted Sands,
Abstain.
Bill Freeman,
Yes.
Bill Johnson,
Yes.
John Cosgrove,
Yeah. Yes,
Frank Andrea,
Yes.
and I will also vote yes.
Uh,
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I appreciate all the comments. Appreciate all the attention. Thank you very much. We'll continue with our regular meeting. Jamie, did you have something to say? Did I
Scott,
cut
do we
you off,
wanna
Jamie?
ask do we want to ask the applicant for an extension or not?
Yeah,
Do we need that? Jamie, do we need an extension at this time?
Yeah, I think it's wise to request from the applicant an extension. Because,
All right.
yeah, because you will not, will reach the 35-day period. And that will happen by next Wednesday.
Yeah, Chuck Mandel, I will send you an email tonight, Jamie, asking for the extension.
Thank you
Okay,
very much, Chuck.
great. Thank you, Chuck. I think,
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. Good night.
yeah, I
Thanks,
think,
Chuck.
yeah, I think, yeah, I think, I think procedurally, as long as the applicant has been informed of the request for extension, and
Yeah.
that was the reason why we continued the public hearing. And I think I just heard Chuck agree to submitting that request for extension. I feel
Yes, he did
comfortable.
agree.
Yeah.
Chuck Mandel, yes, I did agree, Jamie.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Thanks.
Chuck.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, Jernique is trying to wrangle we still have a meeting to conduct, so I'm sorry, folks, if you could.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're not finished yet. Okay.
Scott, if I can make
Yes.
just a question.
I
I didn't have time to.
Sure, Larry. What do you need?
Next meeting, we're considering the zoning regulations, and if we're going to have two meetings that have huge
They voted to continue the
input,
public hearing to the 17th.
that might be difficult.
Why didn't they vote on the waivers?
I don't disagree, but this is the world we're in right now.
It's still happening. It's not over. Thank you.
Larry, can you tag in for a little bit?
Can I?
Take over.
Frank, if you leave, then we'll replace you.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't know if it's 100%, but I'll be back.
All right. Thanks. So we're moving towards our regular meeting. We don't have any deliberation of public hearing items at this time. Pending application, Guilford Mill Inc., 110 Cherry Street, map 46, lot 59A, zone R1, special permit modification for the installation of electrical vehicle charging station and 2 associated parking spaces. This is a receive and set public hearing for May 17th, 2023. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, I'll give it to Sean. Second to Philip. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Larry, you're in on this, by the way.
Yeah, I voted.
All right, approval of minutes. Was anyone able to review the minutes from our April 19th meeting?
Yeah, I looked at the minutes.
Yeah,
They looked
thank you,
okay to
Ted.
me.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll so move.
Thanks, Ted. Sean, you can get the second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 I'll abstain,
Any
Scott.
Any abstentions? Thank you, Phil. All right. Next item, review of details of draft zoning regulations and amended zoning map public hearing, May 17th, 2023 at the 7:30 p.m. Attendees may join at the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center or via Zoom platform by using the following link. Due to limited space, members of the public wishing to attend in person are asked to register with the Planning and Zoning Department. I assume that's just a general announcement to everyone, Jamie?
Yeah, I just wanted to also cover with the commission that I think the last time we spoke about it, we were intending to have some overflow space downstairs in the community center. Because of other activities, we were not able to secure that. The fire marshal ensures me that 70 people can fit in this room. So I did ask for a pre-registration from people who are expecting to attend in person. Hopefully we can get a sense, but it will be similar to tonight, I think. I know that Glenn Chalder will be attending in person. He will be essentially presenting to you as if the zoning regulations and the amended zoning map were his application. So that's kind of how he would proceed with the meeting. And then we're just, I think the intention or the goal is really to hear members of the public, as well as, hear the memos that we have received to date.
I didn't get a chance to jump on your meeting this morning. I had something come up, but how did that meeting go? You were able to go through all the public comments and?
Yeah, we did. So internally, we're reviewing all the comments that we're receiving. But I think the best way to proceed here is that the document that was released to the public on April 13th is what will be, considered at the public hearing. And we're just using this time now of the 35-day comment period to do just that, to receive comment. So staff isn't really, we're not working towards any type of, recommendation regarding the comments. We're just reviewing them, archiving them, and, sharing them with you, and then looking to collect more feedback and comments on the 17th. And then I would imagine that moving forward after that first public hearing would be the time that staff would digest and, offer some type of rubric. I know Glenn has done this in the past, but a rubric for, what the comment is and how the commission would like to move forward.
Thanks. In reference to Larry's question from earlier, the meeting on the 17th, to kind of piggyback off Jamie, is really the opportunity for the public to comment. The plan's not really to do a lot of, it's not intended for it to be a working session after that or anything. It's more of just to collect as
No.
many public comments as possible.
Yeah, I am advising members of the public who are interested in, commenting that they basically speak in opposition or in favor of elements of the regulations.
All right,
Okay, great.
just a question for Jamie and Scott. Is there, if we go, given how dense this and elongated that hearing could be on the 17th, is there any way to continue it, or is it? So there are two parts to this. There's the continuation of this application, and then there's the regulations. So
I would argue that the longer conversation is going to be the digestion of the comments, not necessarily receiving the comments. I mean, we've given the opportunity for people to comment on the website. Those people may or may not come to the meeting and repeat their comments.
are you talking about the regulations?
I'm talking about on the 17th when they're talking about the regulations. Yes,
Okay.
there's not going to be time. We're not going to spend a lot of time digesting comments at that. We're just going to receive comments. The time for digesting it is after that.
Okay, but are we listening to are we listening more about 146?
Yes.
Yep, that'll be
Yeah.
them too, and so will this new one, that the Guilford Mill will also be on there.
Perry Street is a quick and easy application. I mean, they're adding 2 parking spaces to accommodate an electric vehicle charging station. But yes, that we would.
I get that, and maybe we can put that, first. What I'm asking about is whether there is a way to not make the meeting go on until 11:30 at night if we've got both the 146 issue with the, these lot proposals and the regulation comments.
We have no way of knowing how
Scott,
many regulations,
Scott,
how many people are going to be there to comment.
Scott, I completely agree with Sean on this one. I mean, we're talking about a train wreck. We're not talking about 11:30. We're talking about 3 or 4 in the morning. Come on. We're going to have all kinds of comments on the regulations. I mean, I don't know how many phone calls and emails I've gotten from people about this and that and the next thing. And I'm sure Jamie's got, a thick folder of them. There's a lot there, and people are going to have opinions on this, and it's going to take a long time to get through that. And to compound that with this extremely controversial Leeds Road thing, on the same night is just, we're asking for trouble. Can't we split these and somehow, do one night and do another
Yeah.
night?
So thank you, Ted. What I'm asking is whether, legally,
No.
we can.
So let me just put it out there. So it's been legally noticed that the public comment starts on the 17th. The only thing that I can think of, Jamie, is that we can put a time limit on it and say, once the clock hits 11, then we're going to continue public comment on the amendment to the next meeting.
Yes.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Why can't we-
I do think we should have that in our back, not our back pocket. We should have that in the
If
forefront.
it's going to happen, then I would want to say it from the beginning so everyone knew what to expect.
Absolutely. Scott, I totally agree.
Wait a minute. Let me propose something slightly different. I think we should consider this, this 146 application on a different day. Could we decide as a commission to take it up, not on the 17th, but on the 18th or the 16th?
I think.
And put a public notice out that we are changing the date for the consideration of this from the 17th to the whatever.
I think there's probably a time limit.
So, Ted, to answer your question, what we can do, the only thing that we can do is we can ask Jamie to talk to Chuck Mandel and see if he's willing to basically say, hey, Chuck, we're thinking that we want to open the meeting, continue to the next meeting. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to give us the extensions needed to do that? That's the only thing that we can do. Right, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but honestly, my advice here would be, you know, we are receiving memos from the public. They are up on a public space to be viewed by all the public. We have spent the last year having working sessions and discussions and public comment and public information meetings. I do not advise the commission to enter into a debate on issues regarding the regulations on the 17th. Just hear the memos.
We're not going to.
Hear the testimonies, limit it to 3 minutes. I think if you get to a point where you just feel like, you know, everybody's breaking down and they can't continue anymore, then you continue the public hearing, which we've always sort of thought would happen anyways, that we wouldn't just handle it in one public hearing. But, you know, with the extension of that we need to get already for the Visoyunap subdivision, and, you know, that the majority of the public that was here and interested in it just left, I just don't advise changing the date.
Let's just slog through it. I mean, I'm not sure the Leeds Island thing is going to be that long. I mean, if somebody made a motion early on after, you know, some public comment, we could handle this one way or the other.
Yep. I'm fine with putting a time limit on it that we all agree to, that we don't want to be up later than whatever time. Does anyone want to make a suggestion? And I'll make an announcement at the beginning of the meeting that the meeting's not going to go any further. If it hits that time, then we're going to continue to the next meeting day.
And
Does anyone want to suggest a time?
well, just to, after the public meeting, then we go into the to the next stage
Regular meeting.
for the regular meeting to discuss the lead application. So when we set a time limit to end comment, we have to keep in mind that our meeting continues.
That's fine. Give us, I don't know, half an hour max after.
I'd say
comment
30.
is continued. I would say 30 is generous. Yeah.
Say an hour before
So
the bar
10,
starts.
I'm sorry. So say, Phil, you're proposing that once we hit 10:30, then we continue public comment on the amendment to the next meeting. Is that what you're saying? Then we move on to regular meeting.
I think people's bandwidth after 3 hours gets pretty depleted.
It's fine with me. Okay. That'll be the plan. And we'll just make that announcement at the beginning of the meeting, so everyone's aware. Jamie, did you have anything else to go over?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, I've had a chance to speak to all of you except for Kevin. Kevin, I did not have a chance to speak with you. But, just reiterating that I am stepping down as town planner. My last day will be May 19th. So, I'm committed to bringing the regulations to the public hearing and then working with Glenn Shalder and staff. Thank you, Janine, for spending the evening with us. Essentially bringing that to a close.
When
Well,
you
to the
leave,
beginning- to the beginning of the
who's
close.
gonna take your place? I mean, how does the commission function with you gone?
They'll hire.
Right. That was my discussion with the Tyche Planning and Policy Group, who served as an interim basis. Actually, John Guskowski was referenced earlier in the meeting today. So his firm will be joining on an interim basis. And I did discuss with them today that essentially Jernique and Nigel do an excellent job with building permits in the day-to-day and answering questions at the counter, and receiving, materials and getting them out. But it's staffing you're staffing this commission, which Tyke will be needed for.
I would say, yeah, sorry I missed your call, Jamie. We'll touch base. Thank you for the
Yeah.
reach out. I appreciate it. I got the message tonight about 7:05, but do you foresee a need to maybe hold out on applications for 2 weeks or a month or something like that while the transition happens?
I don't. I feel that when I stepped into the role, it was, we were in triage mode, essentially. And I think Steve Natick and I really kind of scrambled to keep everything afloat. I do really feel now that the department is in such good working order with the work of Nigel and Jernique that for Tyke to join, 1-2 days a week, they can handle these reviews of applications. So I feel confident in that, and I think that they can do the job. So.
Okey-doke.
Yep.
Well,
All right.
yeah,
Well,
sorry for my internet issues. I have no idea when my Wi-Fi decided to just go crazy on me, so I was able to figure out how to get my phone at least, but that was very annoying and didn't help with the conspiracy theories out there. So sorry about that. All right, if there's nothing else, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, this has been so much fun. Why don't we just go on for a while?
moved.
Hey, I have a
Second.
question
Thank you, Philip.
before we get off.
Question? Yes, Bill.
Yeah, so certain aspects of the meeting tonight made me very uncomfortable. And I have been on the other side hundreds of times, and I feel personally that we represent the town for the applicant. And it's good to hear what the public has to say, but I also think that we have to keep in mind is whoever it is, are they bringing something that fits within our regulations? And so when Chuck had to request that person stop talking several times, that person was attacking the applicant on a whole nother issue and a whole nother level. And
Yep.
if that's going to
which was inappropriate.
if that's going to continue, then this is not for me. So I think that we have a responsibility to control both sides. And that includes the other side. And for people to get up and, I don't know, it's not for me if that's the case. I apologize, but I'm just letting you know.
I mean, Bill, I hope you don't feel like we were advocating for letting, you know what I mean? Like it's such a fine line that, yes, I agree, 100% agree with you. There's no cause for personal attacks or anything like that. Oh, we as this commission don't stand for it. We do the best we can to shut people down. It's not like we have a censor button that we can like push in the moment. It's we're just gonna have to do the best we can. I don't disagree with you. I don't think anybody disagrees with you.
I'm not leaving this meeting tonight knowing if the person comes back with a regular subdivision and versus the open space, which it doesn't matter to me either way. And in this particular case, they're just dividing a piece of land. If they are fitting within the strictures of our regulations, then the public sentiment is important to hear, but then it is really not what weighs. I don't want to know that we're making decisions based on what people don't, people like looking at the cows or want to see the deer more or something, or they're going to look like a lunar landscape. I mean, this is not germane to me.
Bill, how long have you been on the commission, Bill? I mean, have we made decisions that lightly in the past?
No.
I
This
think
one
we've
seemed to
been
be
very
going sideways.
consistent. Well, you're
And-
talking
and-
about
and-
specifically, you're talking about the public comments going sideways. I don't understand. I mean, you're saying that us as the commission are making decisions based off of everything, everything that was said tonight.
I don't know. I don't
feel
know
like-
where we're at on this. I know that it made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think,
Agreed.
Scott, in the comment period, you're in one sense taking on the role of a facilitator. And
Yeah.
facilitator that keeps a meeting moving in the right direction. And my personal thought was that you could have intervened earlier on and set a tone and say, please keep your comments on this application.
Yep.
Thank you, but lots of people want to speak and you need to please. And then the other fellow said to say, personal attacks are not welcome here. And,
I mean, I'll take
Otherwise-
that criticism. I'll take that criticism. However, people are going to say what they want to say, man. Like, we'll do the best we can to cut them off.
yeah,
I also
you
think.
set a tone.
I think it's difficult. It's kind of a delay. You had someone who was actually there in person. And the rest of us were on Zoom. It's a little bit more difficult to navigate the cutoff, I think.
True.
But I actually thought Scott addressed it fairly quickly. So I don't know, but you seem to, some of you
Again,
think differently.
I'm not arguing. I'll take that criticism. That's fine. I'll do the best I can to make it more clear from the beginning, following meeting. Bill, I think the answer for you, Bill, is like the comments are their comments. People make their comments, but the commission, to this point, as long as I've been on the commission, we make a decision based on everything that's presented to us, town staff. Basically, everything that's presented to us for the full range of the application. And you're right. It's incumbent on us to sift through the comments about what is relevant to the application and what might not be. And like I said, I'll attempt try to do a better job to,
And I say,
control.
Scott, you do a fabulous job.
You do.
I'm not criticizing you, Scott. I just know that for some reason, it just, after that whole thing, it just was starting to feel really uncomfortable.
Understood. I wouldn't be surprised, Bill, if you had flashbacks to a certain other application where things got out of hand as well. So I'm
Kind of like,
not
I still got
surprised.
that one in the background, and then I see this happening again where it's just, vilifying something, and I don't know.
Bill, you're too good not to be on this commission, so please don't abandon hope.
Yes, please.
Well, I'm a little bit lost hope for other reasons right now, but that's.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah, I won't even go there. I'm so sad, but I'm so happy too. So.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. Anything else that anybody needs?
No,
What I want to say, and we'll say it again, we'll have other opportunities, but look at that room where Jamie is, and she's with Jernique.
That's right.
Jamie, Jamie and Jernique, thank you so much for weathering this. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And Jamie, thank you for putting the house in order.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. You are welcome. It has been a pleasure.
Be sorely
bringing
missed.
this along.
Yep, agree.
Our loss, someone
All
else.
right.
For sure.
All right. No, sorry.
Okay,
Thanks all.
let's go.
Did you
All
make
right.
the motion to adjourn? Sorry. No.
Philip made the motion to adjourn. I don't think I heard a second.
Second.
Thank you, Larry. He's not voting. Oh no, he didn't come back to it. You are voting.
Wait.
All right, all in
he
favor, please say
left
aye.
already.
Aye.
Did you really
Yeah.
think he was coming back? Come on.
Frank snuck it. I mean, he swore he might. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Aye.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye.